In a world full of hunger, darkness, and death, people came to Jesus with problems no one else could solve. Some came with empty hands, some came with broken bodies, some came with hearts crushed by grief. And every time hope seemed gone, Jesus did the impossible. He fed the hungry, he opened blind eyes, and he called a dead man back to life. These are the top 3 most powerful miracles of Jesus. Number 3, feeding the 5,000. It started in a lonely place, far from the towns. A massive crowd had followed Jesus into the wilderness. Men, women, children, the sick, the tired, the desperate. They came to hear him speak. They came to be near him. They came because something in them believed he was different. For hours, Jesus taught them. The sun moved slowly across the sky. People sat on the ground and listened. The sick were brought closer. The weak leaned on family members. Even the children grew quiet under the sound of his voice. But as the day stretched on, another problem began to rise. The people were hungry. This was not a small gathering. It was thousands of people in a remote place. No kitchens, no markets, no easy way to buy food, and night was coming. The disciples saw the problem immediately. They came to Jesus and said what any ordinary person would say: "Send the people away. Let them go into the nearby villages. Let them find food before it gets dark." It sounded reasonable, but Jesus answered with something impossible. "You give them something to eat."
The disciples must have stared at him in disbelief. Feed this crowd? With what? They searched through the people and found almost nothing. Just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. A tiny meal. Not enough for thousands. Not even close. The disciples saw the numbers. They saw the shortage. They saw the limit. But Jesus saw something greater. He told the people to sit down on the grass. Row by row, group by group, the crowd settled into place. Some were confused. Some were tired. Some were too hungry to think. But they obeyed. Then Jesus took the bread. He took the fish. He looked up to heaven, and he gave thanks. No panic, no fear, no rush. Just peace. Then he broke the bread. He handed it to the disciples, and they began to pass it through the crowd. At first, it may have seemed ordinary. A few pieces here, a few pieces there. But then something impossible began to happen. The food did not run out. The disciples kept passing it. The people kept receiving it. Children ate, mothers ate, old men ate, the sick ate, the hungry ate until they were full. The bread kept coming. The fish kept coming. What looked too small in human hands became more than enough in the hands of Jesus. Across that field, hunger turned into shock. Shock turned into wonder. Wonder turned into worship. And when everyone had eaten, Jesus told his disciples to gather what was left. They filled 12 baskets with leftovers. Not crumbs, not scraps, 12 full baskets. That day, Jesus did more than feed a crowd. He showed that where people see not enough, God can create abundance. Where human strength sees a dead end, Jesus opens a way. That is why this miracle still matters, because it reminds us that lack is never the end of the story when Jesus is present.
Number 2, healing the blind man. If the first miracle showed his power over lack, the second showed his power over darkness. By the roadside sat a blind man. Day after day, he lived in a world without sight. He heard footsteps, but never saw faces. He heard laughter, but never saw smiles. He felt the warmth of the sun, but never saw the sky. He knew dust. He knew silence. He knew loneliness. And to most people, he had become invisible. He was someone to walk past, someone to pity for a moment, someone to ignore the next. He had likely heard the whispers many times, questions about why he was blind, judgments about his life, assumptions about his worth. But one day, the sound of a crowd began to rise around him. Voices, movement, excitement. So he asked what was happening. Someone told him, "Jesus of Nazareth is passing by." That name changed everything. He had heard the stories of healing, stories of mercy, stories of a man who did not turn away from the broken. So he cried out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd immediately tried to silence him. "Be quiet. Stop shouting. Do not make a scene." But a desperate man does not stay silent when hope is finally close. So he cried out again, even louder, "Jesus, have mercy on me." And then, in the middle of all that noise, Jesus stopped. That moment matters. The crowd was moving. Voices were everywhere. The road was full. But Jesus stopped for one man the world had learned to overlook.
Then Jesus called for him. Suddenly, the man who had been pushed aside became the center of attention. The same people who told him to be quiet now told him to get up. He made his way towards Jesus, likely trembling, likely breathless, likely wondering if this was really happening. Then Jesus asked him a simple question. "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man answered with the deepest desire of his life. "Lord, I want to see." No long speech, no polished prayer, just one honest cry. And Jesus healed him. In a single moment, darkness broke. For the first time, the man saw light, real light. He saw the sky. He saw the earth. He saw the faces around him. And then he saw the face of Jesus. Imagine that first sight. After years of blindness, the first face you ever truly see is the face of the one who stopped for you. What could that feel like? Shock, joy, tears, relief, a whole life changing in one breath. The people around him were amazed, but for that man, this miracle was more than healing. It was restoration. Jesus did not just open his eyes, he lifted him out of shame, out of isolation, out of the identity the world had placed on him. That is why this miracle still moves people so deeply, because it reminds us that Jesus sees the people others ignore. He hears the voices others try to silence, and when he stops for someone, everything can change. Where others saw a blind beggar, Jesus saw a life worth restoring. Number 1, raising Lazarus. And now we come to the most powerful miracle of all, because feeding the hungry is beyond human power. Healing blindness is beyond human power. But calling a dead man out of a tomb goes beyond everything people thought possible.
Lazarus was deeply loved. He was not a stranger. He was the brother of Mary and Martha, two people very close to Jesus. When Lazarus became sick, they sent word immediately. Surely Jesus would come. Surely he would heal him. Surely it was not too late. But the hours passed, then the days passed, and Lazarus died. Whatever hope Mary and Martha had been holding on to collapsed under the weight of that loss. The house filled with mourning, the village filled with grief. Tears replaced expectation. A stone sealed the tomb, and by every human measure, the story was over. Death had spoken its final word. Then Jesus arrived. Martha came to him first. Her voice carried both faith and heartbreak. "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Those words were full of pain, not just sorrow, disappointment, confusion, a broken heart trying to understand delay. Then Mary came, weeping. Others followed her, mourning as they walked. The air itself felt heavy. This was not a crowd waiting for a sermon. This was a family standing in the ruins of hope. And Jesus stepped directly into their sorrow. He did not stay distant. He did not ignore their tears. He did not treat grief as weakness. He wept. That detail is powerful. Even knowing what he was about to do, Jesus still stood close enough to human pain to feel it deeply. Then he walked to the tomb. It was a cave closed by a stone. Silent, cold, final. The kind of place where people believe nothing can change. Then Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Even then, hesitation rose. Martha reminded him that Lazarus had been dead for days. The reality of death had already settled in. Decay had begun. This was beyond rescue, beyond recovery, beyond all human reach. But Jesus was not preparing them for logic. He was preparing them for glory. The stone was rolled away. Imagine the silence. A grieving family, a watching crowd, an open tomb. Then Jesus lifted his voice, not with fear, not with uncertainty, but with authority. "Lazarus, come out." And then the impossible happened. From deep inside the darkness, there was movement. A shape appeared where no life should remain.
Wrapped in burial cloths, Lazarus stepped out alive. Alive. The dead man walked back into the light. Try to picture that moment. Mary and Martha, who had buried their brother, now seeing him standing before them breathing again. The crowd, frozen between terror and amazement. Tears turning into cries, grief turning into shock. This was not recovery. This was not a symbol. This was not a story people told to comfort themselves. This was a dead man returning to life because Jesus called his name. No miracle could show his power more clearly than this, because here, Jesus did not only provide, he did not only restore sight, he confronted the greatest enemy humanity knows, death itself, and death obeyed him. That is why the raising of Lazarus stands above all the rest, because it reveals who Jesus truly is. He is not only compassionate, not only wise, not only powerful in small ways. He has authority over life and death. Where others saw the end, Jesus saw a moment for glory. Where others stood in mourning, he stood in command. Where the tomb declared finality, Jesus answered with resurrection. And all three of these miracles point to the same truth. Jesus feeds what is empty. Jesus opens what is closed. Jesus brings life where hope has died. He did it in the wilderness. He did it on the roadside. He did it at the grave. That is why these are not just ancient stories. They are living reminders. No need is too great. No darkness is too deep. No grave is too sealed for the power of Jesus. So when people ask about the most powerful miracles of Jesus, the answer is not only in what happened, it is in what those miracles revealed. That hunger is not greater than him. Darkness is not greater than him. Death is not greater than him. Jesus stood before all three, and all three gave way. These were the top three most powerful miracles of Jesus, and even now, they still remind the world of one unshakable truth. When Jesus arrives, the impossible is never final.